Welcome to this lesson on how to conduct a training needs assessment. In this lesson, we will look at a practical process you can apply to carry out a needs assessment within your organization. So let's get started. In order to identify the training needs of your business, it may be necessary to carry out a training needs assessment. A training needs assessment is a review of the learning and development needs for staff within your organization. A training needs assessment considers the skills, knowledge and behaviors that your people need, and how to develop them effectively. So, let's look in more detail why we should conduct a needs assessment. Firstly, to determine whether training will make a difference in employee productivity. Secondly, to help us decide what specific training each employee needs, and what will improve their job performance. And thirdly, to differentiate between the need for training and other organizational issues. And there are always other organizational issues. And just what is the role of the manager in this? Typically, the manager may commission a needs assessment. Certainly, the manager should be seen to support the process. As a manager, you may be asked to provide inputs into the needs assessment. In addition, you may be consulted on the analysis of the results. Finally, once the needs assessment has been completed, the manager will be expected to assign staff to the training programs on offer. Just who conducts the needs assessment? For small-scale assessments, the manager may conduct the task. For larger assessments, it will be normal for the HR department to carry out the tasks. And finally, outside specialists may be used where local resources are not available. So what information do we need to gather? Firstly, what training is needed? And who needs the training? We also need to know why the training is important. And finally, we need to know how the training will be delivered. The needs assessment process typically involves 3 steps. The first step is to gather data. The next step is to analyze skills and the gaps between the desired levels of performance and the current levels of performance of the staff. And the third step is to identify specific training needs to fill the gaps. So how do we set about identifying the training needs of the organization? There are 3 basic training needs assessment approaches: the performance problem approach, the competency framework approach, and the career development approach. Let's look at these in turn. Performance problems can relate to problems with the performance of individual employees, or problems with specific technologies, or teams, or work groups. Here are some examples of typical team problems, their possible causes and some possible solutions. In the first problem, the team is failing to meet production targets. This might be caused by equipment problems, problems with team motivation, or problems with team lack of skills. The solutions then might be to review the maintenance records and procedures, or set up a focus group with a team to identify issues and offer team or individual coaching, or alternatively to conduct a team skills assessment and provide an associated training program. In the second problem, there is team internal conflict and absenteeism. The cause here seems to be that the new team leader is having difficulty in coordinating and motivating the team. The solution here may be to provide leadership and team building training for the team leader. In the competency approach, we are looking for sources of competency gaps. Firstly, we can use the competency frameworks available in the organization and conduct an assessment of the current levels of competency of our employees against those in the competency framework. This is very often done in annual performance appraisals. We can also use the position descriptions, which may contain competency descriptors. These can be used in promotion or succession planning. We can assess employees against the competencies required for promotion and arrange training to close the gap. Finally, training plans should be designed to support company strategy. Therefore, if the company is pursuing growth, then it may need to develop the management capabilities across the organization. Therefore, training to develop leadership and management competencies will need to be planned. A useful tool in gap analysis is a competency checklist like the one illustrated here. You can use a checklist like to identify gaps in competency for each of your employees. We now need to conduct a gap analysis. Typical questions in our gap analysis would be: is the organization meeting its performance targets? Do skill levels need to be increased to meet performance goals? Have the organization's goals and objectives changed? Is new technology necessary? Do you have to learn to work with different resource constraints? Are there human resource issues like turnover, absenteeism, and recruitment problems? Do people have the skills, knowledge and competence required to do the work required of them? Are there health and safety issues, competence issues, regulatory compliance issues or issues of legal exposure that will arise if people aren't fully trained? Now, try this activity. Download the Management Competency Checklist from the references. Consider 2 or more members of your team, and briefly assess their competency against the list. Rank their level of competence on each competency, as 3 high, 2 medium, and 1 low. As we have seen, successful organizations invest in the longer-term development of their people. In particular, successful organizations recognize employees with high potential, known as high POs. Typically, these employees are central to the company's succession plan. The development focus with such employees tends to be on generic leadership skills development, and specific career development in the employee's areas of specialization. We can now start framing our training and development plan. We need to decide which of the gaps in skills and performance you've identified need to be met by your training plan. Note: not all performance gaps will require training. You will then need to consider appropriate types of training to fill these gaps, and of course set yourself a budget. The types of learning options to consider include: in-house courses, external training courses, e-learning courses, non-formal learning, such as mentoring and coaching, and action learning, in which groups of staff can work on specific work-related projects, while using a structured learning process. Inevitably you will be working within budget constraints. And training budgets are often hit at times of recession. You will certainly need to prioritize your training, and ask yourself: what are the costs of the training? What will be the benefits of the training? Which competencies are most critical for business success? And which competencies are most urgent for business success? Let's look now at your own organization. Use this checklist to check your organization's readiness to carry out a needs analysis and prepare training plans, which will help support your strategic agenda. A training needs assessment is a vital tool in ensuring the return on investment in learning and development in an organization. There are many elements that can help ensure the validity and utility of a needs assessment, including business objectives, position descriptions, competency frameworks, and performance appraisal systems, to name a few. It is not necessary to have all of these in place to conduct a needs assessment. A needs assessment can be very simple, and simply based on interviews with staff, or discussions with other managers, or customers. In addition, there are many resources available on the internet to help you in this process. There are a number of activities to complete for this unit. Take the time to complete these in your manual. In this way, you will better learn from and retain the knowledge covered in this unit. You can download a training needs assessment template from the references. You can use this to carry out an assessment when you are ready.
Many thanks for watching this lesson. Want to learn more? Click on our website to view our range of courses on human resources management.